Epoch is going back to something that they know well with Monster Mansion, copying something that's currently popular as best they can with a system that's totally inadequate for it. And despite that, this is the most advanced Cassette Vision game yet. Monster Mansion is Epoch's take on Nintendo's Donkey Kong, and you can mainly tell because it features ladder climbing and jumping over rolling objects. But similar to other recent Cassette Vision games, Epoch was also pulling a bit of inspiration from one of their LCD games, Monster Panic. Looking at Monster Mansion with its completely flat floors, reminded of an infamous anecdote regarding Nintendo and when they were reviewing the ColecoVision port of Donkey Kong. When showed a prototype, the Nintendo representative pointed out that all of the floors were flat. And the programmer at Coleco went, "Well, the system really doesn't do that." The Nintendo representative replied, "We would make it do that." And when the ColecoVision launched with Donkey Kong, that version of Donkey Kong had slanted floors. Epoch, developing all of their games in-house and with a tiny team, didn't have anyone telling them, "No, you need to do better." It's not that Monster Mansion stinks. It's an acceptable take on the Donkey Kong concepts for a console in early 1983. But roughly 2 months after Monster Mansion was released, Nintendo released the Famicom. And that had a pretty good version of Donkey Kong with it. There are 3 stages in Monster Mansion, though they all use the same layout. The story of the game is that Hanako has been abducted by the Ketobashi monster, or roughly translated, the Kicking Monster. He has taken her to his skyscraper home, and her boyfriend Taro will have to climb up the building to rescue her. On the first stage, the Ketobashi monster kicks rocks down at you. Your goal on this stage is to climb the 4 ladders that are dangling from platforms, and this will turn them pink. Once all 4 have turned pink, a new pink ladder appears, and you can climb it to reach the monster and Hanako. Changing the color works whether or not you're going up or down, but you do have to completely traverse the ladder. The controls in Monster Mansion are very simple. You may use either lever on the system for left and right, and then button 1 will make you jump. The jump button is also used to scale ladders, so you'll need to mash button 1 to go up, and mash button 2 to go down. It takes 5 presses to completely traverse a ladder. That's all there is to it. If you've managed to reach the top of level 1, then you move on to level 2, where there's no more rocks, but you're being chased down by the Oikake monster, or the pursuing monster. This big guy will walk back and forth on platforms, moving slowly towards you, but often hesitant to go all the way. And it will march off screen, presumably to some elevator to reach whatever floor you're on. It is possible to jump over the monster, but it's large and slow enough that it's a lot trickier than jumping over the rocks. The monster is repelled by the cross found on the 3rd floor, which I guess means it's some kind of vampire. But either way, you can only have the cross for a short time. Again, you have to climb on all of the ladders, but you now also have to collect all of the checkpoints. They're the spots that are dangling from all the platforms. Get to the top and you move on to stage 3, which just merges stages 1 and 2 together. Get to the top this time and the Ketobashi monster falls to its doom, and Hanako and Taro proclaim their love for each other. Then it's back to stage 1, only faster. Besides the obvious way to die by touching any of the hostile enemies, you can also die by falling off the end of the platforms. So watch your step when you're jumping. One thing to note if you're playing for points is that there is a bonus depending on how quickly you play a stage. There isn't a visible timer, but the bar at the top where the Ketobashi monster hangs out will change color to indicate how much of a bonus you're going to get. Monster Mansion offers 2 difficulty levels, with option 2 giving you fewer lives to start with and making the enemies faster. That said, I didn't find a lot of challenge here. The video that you've been watching is me playing for half an hour straight. In that time, I only played a single game, and I quit playing because I wasn't getting any new footage. The game had even stopped speeding up. The patterns are really easy to work with here, and the timing isn't especially tight on anything. If you mash the button too much while going up and down a ladder, then you might jump when you don't want to, but it only takes a couple of rounds before you're used to that. And then after that, any reasonably skilled person can effectively play forever. There's nothing to master here, just an endless grind of rolling rocks and monster chasing. The closest thing the game has to strategy is how you should grab the cross when you're on your way to the exit. Monster Mansion really isn't a bad game, though. It's just extremely primitive, and doesn't quite have the edge that it needs to be something really worth playing.